Imagine a familiar sight, a shopping cart. For most, it is a symbol of daily errands, of groceries, perhaps a trip to the mall, a simple convenience. It is an innocuous object, a mundane part of our everyday lives, easily overlooked. But for a chilling period, in a quiet corner of America, this very object became something else entirely. It transformed into a harbinger of terror, a silent accomplice to unspeakable acts, forever etching itself into the nightmares of a community and the grim annals of true crime. This is the harrowing story of Anthony Robinson, the man who twisted an ordinary object into a tool of profound horror, leaving a devastating trail of fear and sorrow in his wake. Our story begins not with the monster, but with the precious lives he stole. These were women, each with her own unique hopes, her own personal struggles, her own families who cherished them. They were mothers, daughters, sisters, friends, individuals with dreams and histories. Some were battling the relentless grip of addiction. Some were experiencing the harsh realities of homelessness. Some were simply down on their luck, navigating difficult circumstances. Their inherent vulnerability, tragically, made them susceptible targets for a calculating predator. The first disappearance that would later be tragically linked to Robinson was that of Sonia Champ. Sonia, a 40-year-old mother, vanished in February of 2023. Her family, consumed by a desperate need for answers, promptly reported her missing. But the initial search efforts yielded no immediate clues. The sprawling streets of Washington, D.C. and its surrounding metropolitan areas are vast, and disappearances, sadly, are not an uncommon occurrence within such a large urban landscape. At that time, there was no immediate indication that something far more sinister, a pattern of predatory violence, was at play. Then, in April of that very same year, another woman, 39-year-old Aline Redman, disappeared from the same general vicinity. The emerging pattern was subtle at first, almost imperceptible to the casual observer. Two women, gone without a trace, swallowed by the anonymity of the city. Their families felt the crushing weight of absence, the gnawing anxiety of the unknown, a torment that grew with every passing hour. They walked the streets tirelessly, put up countless flyers, pleaded with anyone who would listen, their voices cracking with a desperate hope that dwindled agonizingly with each new day. The chilling, horrifying truth began to reveal itself in a series of grim discoveries. On April 15, 2023, a body was found in a wooded area near a bustling shopping center in Harrisonburg, Virginia. The discovery alone sent a profound ripple of unease through the quiet community. The victim was soon identified as Aline Redman, the woman who had vanished just weeks prior. But it was not merely the remote location that was disturbing. It was what was found nearby, a shopping cart. An abandoned, seemingly ordinary shopping cart, now imbued with an unsettling, sinister significance that defied its mundane appearance. Just 3 days later, on April 18th, another body was discovered, this time in a more secluded, rural area on the outskirts of Harrisonburg. This victim was identifying as Sonia Champ, the first woman reported missing. And once again, chillingly close by, was another shopping cart. Two women, two bodies, two shopping carts. The pattern was undeniable, the coincidence too stark, too terrifying to dismiss as mere chance. Law enforcement officials began to connect the dots with a growing sense of urgency, a cold dread settling over them as they realized they were dealing with something far more organized, far more predatory than a series of random acts of violence. A serial killer was at work. The sense of conflict and urgency escalated rapidly within the investigative teams. A cunning predator was operating, seemingly unnoticed, leveraging an everyday object to transport his victims, effectively turning public spaces into his hunting grounds. The fear began to spread like wildfire, a silent whisper among the vulnerable populations, a chilling warning echoing in the local news reports. The questions loomed large and terrifying. Who was this monster? And how, crucially, could he be stopped before more lives were lost? Investigators worked tirelessly, driven by a grim determination, piecing together every available fragment of information. They meticulously reviewed countless hours of surveillance footage, conducted extensive interviews with potential witnesses, and analyzed the grim crime scenes with painstaking care. The recurring presence of the shopping carts became a macabre signature, a chilling clue that was both horrifying in its implications and strangely specific in its repetition. They began to understand the killer's modus operandi. He was likely luring his victims, perhaps by offering them money, drugs, or the promise of a safe place to stay, cruelly exploiting their desperation and vulnerability. Once he had them isolated, he would commit his heinous acts, then use the seemingly innocuous shopping carts to transport their bodies to secluded, often wooded, locations, callously discarding them as if they were mere refuse. The emotional truth of this period was palpable and deeply disturbing. For the families of Sonia and Aline, their profound grief was compounded by a terrifying, agonizing uncertainty. They grappled not only with the crushing weight of their loss, but with the harrowing knowledge that their loved ones had likely suffered immensely at the hands of a cruel, calculating individual. For the broader community, there was a pervasive, growing sense of vulnerability and unease. If an object as common and unassuming as a shopping cart could be twisted into a tool of death, what other everyday objects, what other seemingly safe spaces could be corrupted and turned into instruments of evil? The very fabric of daily life felt threatened. The breakthrough in this terrifying case came with the disappearance of 54-year-old Gregory Kelly in November of 2023. Kelly, a transgender woman, was last seen in the same general area where the previous victims had vanished. This disappearance, coupled with the grim discoveries that had preceded it, intensified the police investigation to an unprecedented level. They were now actively hunting a confirmed serial killer, and the stakes for public safety could not have been higher. Surveillance footage from a hotel in Harrisonburg provided a crucial, undeniable lead. It showed a man, later identified as Anthony Robinson, in the company of Gregory Kelly. The footage captured Robinson pushing a shopping cart, a chilling, unmistakable echo of the earlier crime scenes. This was the definitive break they desperately needed. The mundane object, once a symbol of terror and a signature of the killer, now became a key piece of irrefutable evidence, leading law enforcement directly to their primary suspect. Anthony Robinson, a 35-year-old man with a documented history of domestic violence, was swiftly apprehended. The resolution, though bringing a measure of profound relief to the terrified communities, was far from complete. The capture of Robinson was merely the beginning of a long, arduous, and painful journey towards justice for his victims and their families. Upon his arrest, investigators uncovered a trove of disturbing and incriminating evidence. Cell phone data meticulously placed him at the precise locations where the bodies of his victims were discovered. His own vehicle contained undeniable traces of blood and other crucial forensic evidence, irrefutably linking him to the heinous crimes. The pieces of the complex, horrifying puzzle clicked into place with grim precision, revealing a chilling portrait of a methodical, remorseless predator. The investigation continued to unfold, tragically revealing even more victims. In December of 2023, the body of 59-year-old Edwina Thomas was found in a wooded area in Fairfax County, Virginia. And then, in February of 2024, the remains of 48-year-old Cheyenne Brown were discovered in a storage unit in Alexandria, Virginia. Both women had been reported missing months earlier, and both were definitively linked to Robinson through compelling forensic evidence and corroborating cell phone data. The shopping cart killer had claimed at least 5 lives, leaving an unimaginable trail of sorrow, devastation, and unanswered questions in his wake. The trials that followed were harrowing and emotionally draining. Families sat in court, forced to relive the last agonizing moments of their loved ones' lives, listening to the cold, clinical details of how they were brutally taken. They saw the man who had inflicted such unimaginable pain, a man who showed little to no emotion, a chilling void where any semblance of remorse should have been. The emotional truth of these proceedings was raw, agonizing, and deeply personal. It was not about closure, for true closure often remains elusive in such profound tragedies. But it was about accountability, about ensuring that no other family would ever suffer at the hands of this monster. Anthony Robinson was ultimately convicted of multiple counts of murder. The sentences handed down were severe and uncompromising, ensuring he would spend the remainder of his life behind bars, never again to threaten innocent lives. Justice, in its slow, often painful, but ultimately resolute way, had been served. But the story of the shopping cart killer is more than just a grim tale of a predator and his victims. It is a stark, unsettling reminder of the hidden dangers that can lurk in plain sight, of the profound vulnerabilities that exist within our communities, and of the devastating, far-reaching impact that evil can have on countless lives. It is also a testament to the tireless dedication and unwavering perseverance of law enforcement, who relentlessly pursued every lead, no matter how small or obscure, to bring a cunning killer to justice. And perhaps most importantly, it is a story that compels us to remember the victims, not merely as statistics in a grim crime report, but as unique individuals whose lives were tragically and unjustly cut short. Sonia Champ, Aline Redman, Gregory Kelly, Edwina Thomas, Cheyenne Brown. Their names deserve to be spoken, their stories remembered, so that their lives and the horror they endured are never forgotten. The shopping cart, once a symbol of their final, terrifying moments, now stands as a chilling monument to their memory and a stark, enduring warning about the darkness that can hide in the most ordinary of places.